Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the KB article, where we go live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central and discuss a variety of topics ranging from tax, accounting, small businesses, just different topics that we feel everyone can value from. My name is Chad Brown, president of Kinstler Brown Companies. Kinstler Brown Companies works with small businesses and individuals in the area of taxation, accounting, and bookkeeping. And today I'm joined by Jordan Kinstler of Kinstler Brown and our special guests, Jitsi and Pia with Inspired Results Consulting, not accounting, consulting.
No, not accounting.
Not accounting. Today we're going to be discussing the topic of conflict resolution in the office. But before we dig into the weeds on that, Jitsi and Pia, could you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little about you, your business, and what you guys are all about.
Thank you. Yes. Well, I'm Pia and I'm Jitsi, and we truly appreciate this opportunity to share on this topic. But, for the past 5 years, almost 5 years, next year will be the 5th year, Jitsi and I have been working as leadership and mindset coaches, and we have, really grown in a way that has allowed us to work with corporations, whether it's Fortune 500 companies, local companies. We are located in Omaha, and virtually, that's the big benefit of all of this, is being able to just have these kind of conversations to help people think differently. And so when we do that mindset coaching piece, this is a part that we love to do. So it's a little bit about us. We are sisters.
Yes.
And we grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Our family's from Chile, and that's about it. Right now, we're just, really love having these conversations. So again, thank you for having us.
No, very interesting. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. So, Chile, did you live in Chile at all, or you?
We're kind of like, we've lived in a lot of places between the two of us. But our family, both our parents are from Chile. Mm-hmm. I am the oldest sister, so I was born in Queens, New York.
And I was born in Massachusetts, near Boston.
Okay.
So we did live there when we were very young, but it's just pictures is the only thing we remember,
Yeah.
So.
No.
Sure. Since then, we've been to many places. So I've traveled six continents. Jitsi's lived in 10 different cities. So
wow,
we call Omaha home now.
That's cool. I gotta say, I've always envied people that kind of do what you do. I like speaking on this kind of stuff, and that's kind of what brings us to where we are in this podcast today, because I love the mindset matter of things, education, just self-improvement, all that kind of stuff. What clicked in you guys to kind of put you in that realm to say, let's go into this and teach others about it?
Yeah. So we were both on our own paths for 15 years. I was at a place in my life where I realized I was on autopilot. I was doing going to work, coming home, going to work, coming home, and just doing the, like the autopilot things. And I wasn't even aware I was doing it. I wasn't tied to a bigger purpose, to a bigger goal. And I just kind of got in that routine of life. So I started to do this for myself personally. And when we realized the power of what we weren't aware of, caught in the day-to-day, Pia had been teaching at a university in Tulsa, and she was like, this is not taught in schools. So we really came together with a passion to help people become more aware of their potential so that they could start living a quality of work and life that really meant something and fulfilled them from that deeper place, right? Whether it's the personal, like you really want to develop that, or if, personal is good, but maybe work is something that feels a little chaotic and they need clarity on that. So just kind of the holistic look at how people are living their lives.
I appreciate that. I guess what gives you the insight to all of it? Are you always studying, educating yourselves, or is it your past that kind of allows you to speak on this?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So, along with, going on our own journey, we have been, trained and certified as leadership and mindset coaches. And in that realm, we've invested in several different mentors. And so from that experience, that gave us sort of that foundation of framework, and then, working with different companies and seeing the needs of what's going on within the organization. and really getting that one-on-one training and coaching with other employees. And so now, after years of experience of having our own personal clients and working with corporations, and with all of the different certifications and trainings we've had, just blending it together, and really that's what's allowed us to tap into what is the need of this specific person or this specific team. And so just tying both of our experiences. So Jitsi was in sales for over 15 years. I was in education, going from PhD and curriculum studies. So learning, teaching and learning was always been part of my experience and training and in the corporate world as well. And so now we just somehow came together. We were living in different states for over 15 years. So now we're just like, it all works.
Yeah. We did have to do our own work to get out of our own way from all the habits that we created over time. And so we've done that work. And then with the experience and with the trainings and all the education that we do train ourselves more than we coach, because we have to be as sharp to really serve our clients at that level. So yes, great question. Thank you.
Yeah, got to fill your cup to pour it out, right?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, on the, we have conflict resolution, right? And it sounds like you guys have diverse experience both before you started coaching in the industry, but a lot of times we tie conflict resolution to business, right? But everything's interrelated, right? Mm-hmm. Your personal lives, your everything. How is that addressed when you are working with teams within an office? I know there's oftentimes we're afraid to go too deep, too personal with folks, but a lot of times the stuff that's creating the conflict in the office didn't start there. They're bringing that with them. I mean, how do you kind of navigate that?
That's a great question. And what we like to say too is company culture is group habit. And just like you were just saying, that habits are formed outside of the office, most likely a lot of times, right? We've been programmed to, even just the way we communicate, the way we feel about ourselves, all that is brought to the office. So when we're talking about, just even conflict, right? It's not just about what strategies are going to get us through this conflict. It's really what we love to do. And what we understand now is when you just focus on how to fix the physical conflict, you're not dealing with the root cause, which is the person, and even their understanding of them as a leader. A lot of times people don't even consider themselves a leader. So they put it off as, someone else's problem. And so really going to the root cause of what are the people's habits of how they understand, what they understand about themselves, and developing people from that point. And that starts to tap into past habits, past programming that's creating maybe even conflict within the workplace. So this is where it's not just about strategy. It's more about helping people understand themselves so that the whole group, the whole company culture can move up versus, pointing fingers and, they need to fix themselves, not me, kind of stuff. So it's a great point.
From your perspective as a coach, does it take you a long time to sit down and identify the root problem of it all? Or do you kind of look at someone's mannerisms and have a key idea of what brings about that trait of whatever the conflict might be?
There's a lot of different ways that you can approach getting to know somebody, but there are some key questions that we generally ask people. And one of them, just to be honest, is, are you coachable? You have to be able to be vulnerable to grow. And if a person comes to us and they're giving us little bits of information and they just don't seem to be engaged in the potential for what they can grow into, then we know that maybe it's not the right time, right? Because we do feel that our purpose is to grow and our purpose is to serve. And so the only way we can serve people and to really help them see new results is if they're ready, vulnerable to grow and really start to think at another level and maybe say, oh, maybe this isn't working for me or my way isn't working. Let me try this way.
Oh, excellent. So basically what I hear, and it's a struggle for everybody, is going to start from within, right? And recognize that a lot of your problems stem from you, right?
Yeah. You got to what is it? The buck stops here. You gotta get honest with yourself and own your stuff. Like if you aren't ready to own your stuff, you're just gonna repeat the same cycle of what you've seen or continue to see.
What if someone's blind to their habits though? How do you take that blindfold off of them?
I think for us, what we do is a process, right? It's not just about pointing fingers and saying, this is what you need to fix, because that's speaking to their logical mind. And if their mind is set that their way is the right way, then that's almost one of the worst ways to try to help people see what's wrong. And so what we like to do is really go into, like, we talk about paradigms, which is like just their habits. What are their habits they've created? And, when we're talking about conflict, for us, one of the main things that we understand with conflict is lack of effective communication. So if we're not communicating effectively, if we aren't open, like Jitsi was saying, to being coached, that's a barrier. But once someone is open to it, then we have a framework of saying, okay, here's some steps and here's some understandings of, how you're operating that can help you think differently. And so it's not so much of like pointing out the behavior and let's just fix that, because again, that's not going to the root cause, because behind every behavior, there's a belief, there's a limiting, maybe understanding if the behavior is bad, of course, or it's not effective. And so it's less about just change your behavior and more about let's help you understand yourself in a new way. And that way it's less invasive and less about you need to fix yourself kind of conversations, and more about let's get creative and start thinking about how, maybe even if it's like, let's say a team, how we can create a culture that is better for everyone, that makes us like love coming to work. And so yeah, that's really, for us, it's more about like taking them through a framework, taking them through an understanding that's takes the view like less about pointing fingers and more about, hey, I can take part in my creation of being a better leader within, but then within my organization as well.
I had this question I'd come up with already, and I think you kind of segued into that. You might have already answered it all. And it was this one here. Should resolution be cut and dry, or does it require a creative approach sometimes?
So we understand that conflict, happens for a lot of different reasons. Of course, there's a million strategies that you can go look up. You can Google on how to, resolve conflict. One of them would be like, if you're in an organization or even in a family setting, providing support without taking away responsibility. How can we help people without taking away their responsibility? Because so many times as leaders, or even as a mom, like I just want to get it done because it's easier, because I know how to do it, right? But that's enabling, right? Like, so there's a lot of strategies, right? But ultimately at the root cause, like Pia has been talking about all of this, like if they don't have the buy-in to grow, then that won't allow for that creativity. So we don't know that it's necessarily cut and dry. There are methods and strategies that you can follow that can help somebody gain clarity on how to work with an employee that maybe isn't, doing the things that they need to do in an office, for example. But there's also another level of creativity that you can add in there if a person is buying into the next level of growth for themselves or the company.
Sure. I got to say, like, I've been lucky enough to have coachable employees in my own business, where like I'll notice a mistake they made and how it's going to affect us down the line.
Right.
So given it's landscaping, we can literally back it up and say, no, let's pull this back and redo this and identify the problems here. So yeah. I've been lucky in that manner. Chad, how about you? I mean, have you had uncoachable employees before?
Yeah, I have. That's just what was kind of going through my mind. And I don't know if it was the uncoachable employees or my process of coaching, right? So sometimes the mindset of the leader or the boss or the person in charge, supervisor, is more direct. It's nothing personal with anybody, but coming across certain ways can almost be portrayed as personal attacks. So that closes people up. Have you noticed, so I've tried to get better at that on my own, but You often hear that employees are softer now. I don't know if you've heard that in your workings with other businesses where accountability or holding people to account or expectations are pretty high. Sometimes folks aren't open to that. Have you found that to be the case?
Generally, who reaches out to us and who wants to work with us is ready for a change, is ready for another level. So when we go into organizations and there is buy-in from the leadership, and then we're working with individual contributors or just employees that don't have a title per se, as long as that leader has already bought in and we've sat down with the orientation and we've come together. See, when we go in, we make sure that first, of course, that we're lined up with the company goal or the team goal, but then we also give everybody the opportunity. We sit down with each person that's going to be involved with coaching and say, what do you feel needs to be the goal? We let them express it, let them be heard, but then also kind of come in and say, this is ultimately what the team goal is. But when we work with people, we're working with people on two levels. It doesn't matter, if it's when we go into an organization, we're helping people develop their personal skills and then also the team and work on their team goals. So we can't just go in and say team goal because they're not shifting who they are as a person, right? So if we say effective communication, that can mean something for the team goal, but we also have to be able to help people become effective communicators individually, right? So it's about each person individually, and then collectively what happens, even though we have the personal goal and the team goal, they're all rising up at the same time, right? If we just go in and work with let's say one supervisor, and he has a team around him, and he goes in and does, training and coaching and tries to be better, but these people already have an idea of who that person is and haven't done any raising of their awareness at the same time, right? It's going to be like hitting a brick wall, right? So it's great for a person to go in and grow themselves personally and raise their awareness. But when you're working with a team, if you go into your family and you do all the work and the family isn't raising at the same time, also you're going to hit that brick wall because it's going to feel hard because they're still thinking at the level that you were thinking before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think, Chad, to your point too about maybe of sort of what you were saying and how you might see personalities and behaviors vary based off of employees. So what you said about like softer employees or I think for that piece, a lot of times what we go into is what is that person's desire? What are they connected to in their purpose, even within the organization? Sometimes when we help them redefine that purpose, it helps reignite their vision for why they're even there. And sometimes just connecting that purpose for that individual and like, what does coming to work do for you? What does it allow you to do, outside of work? What is that income providing that you wouldn't have had before? So that when we get people who are maybe just not, it's not that the potential's not there because we totally believe it's there. It's connecting, we would say, connecting them to a desire or a purpose that sort of like ignite something within them. And that sometimes can just be a pivot within their like perspective, how they're thinking.
Sure. Just changing the meaning of it, right? How to perceive certain things from your supervisor, let it change the meaning of that focused over here. Okay, this is why they're doing that. This is why they're saying that. It's not an attack on me. And then that makes sense.
Yeah. And even just clarity, I would say sometimes a confused mind says no. So if the employee is not clear on why their boss is telling them to do this, their purpose isn't clear for them, or it doesn't bring any like, real emotion for them of like how it's going to benefit them. Unfortunately, that's sometimes what it goes to. It's just about being clear on that reason why they're doing what they're doing. And if you can sometimes, we talk sometimes about gamification. If you can build something up within them that helps them, build that desire, that's always a great thing too.
I spent probably 5 years of my life, probably later high school and early college, working in different retail places. And for what I see and what motivates me a lot of the time are numbers. Like I like to see those numbers grow because I understand that numbers often reflect, I guess, success in a business manner. Not necessarily personal success, but I would always be working for these companies and saying, okay, what's the goal? What's this? What's that? And sometimes they wouldn't disclose them. They say, no, management has their own goals, or corporate has these goals they want to hit, but they're not going to disclose it to you. And that would frustrate me so much, because at the end of the day, I feel like, sure, it's a customer service industry, but I want to see what it takes to advance the whole franchise or the corporation in the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, just from my perspective, not sharing or disclosing the corporation's goals it's not good. People got to know what ship they're moving, and not just the box that they're moving.
Yeah.
Right?
It's huge. Transparency is one of the biggest things that we see people want more of in an organization. They want more transparency, but the communication again isn't there. And that has been created as a culture, right? To not do that. So it's upon the leader at that point to make that change, right? So from top down.
Right. I guess one of the first things we were supposed to pose here is what's like one of the most common workplace conflicts that you see? It's probably going to stem down to communication here, isn't it?
Yeah. It's totally the lack of effective communication, right? And that's one of the things is transparency, right? So communication just comes across as so many different ways. But when you're a leader, if you cannot communicate effectively, it just makes everything so much harder, and you don't have as many people following you because you can't put that vision out there of where you're moving, right? So that people can buy into you.
So
No, I think.
Go ahead.
No, I think that's very, very important. I mean, communication, consistent, timely communication, and I am an example of that. As business owners, a lot of times we're in the weeds, or even employees, you're in the weeds so much, or a supervisor doing the work, or things come up and you don't have the time to communicate, right? So you just put your head down and bury it in work. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks goes by, and now you're back in supervisor mode, and you're reviewing work or processes or systems. How were they followed? How were they done? And you're noticing all these issues. And it's your fault, right? Because you weren't communicating. So I personally have just recently, we have 10-15-minute huddle every morning at 8:30. Me and my key people just get on the phone, wins, losses, anything that's bothering you. Where do you need me? That way I'm in front of them and they feel comfortable sharing whatever, because if it's on the list to get done, it'll get done, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't communicate that or have that open forum. So for me, that's huge. It's been huge for our team as well.
And a lot of what I heard under all of that is presence, the lack of presence that we allot in our life when we're trying to do this work-life balance thing, especially for Pia and I as entrepreneurs. Like we know, you guys know, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, right? Like you have to be able to balance your life. And some people say there's no such thing as that. A lot of this, like you said, is integrated, right? It's all together. But because I did this for many, many years, like I said, go home, go to work, go home, like all those things. And that, like, I was like on the hamster wheel of life. I was not present. Right. And so that's a big piece that happens too, when we're not, there's so many things that come out of the lack of effective communication. Your productivity goes down. You aren't present. You're just trying to put out fires, a lot of other things. So it's the root of a lot of things.
And Chad, I want to say what you said about just having that 15 minutes allotted time. And what we've seen, even just within that time, like you said, talk about your wins, talk about the things that are going well. And what you're ultimately doing is helping everyone create a habit of looking for what's going well. And if people are communicating that, even if it's in a daily meeting for a few minutes, you're almost helping them reprogram their mind. So when they're, at home or they're on their way to work, they're thinking about, oh, I need to say something good, right? And so those little pivots and those little tweaks, you are helping other people see, how can they be more effective as well. So that was a great example of what we've seen great leaders do, to just bring up the whole team together.
Right.
I wanted to touch on that there where you said, talking about entrepreneurship. I being a young entrepreneur, I've got something new every day to overcome, or I'm learning something. And in the last 2 years, I'd say about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I was able to identify that my drive as an entrepreneur itself, without proper boundaries, was creating a toxic lifestyle, because I was in that rat race. I was working over 100 hours a week, just like, hey, I need to get to the next step. I need to do this and that. And I wasn't taking care of the people around me. I didn't have a personal life outside of my business. And I realized that was creating conflict after a while. But when I realized it was conflict, it was after the fact, after I had already hurt my relationships. So that was definitely a huge learning opportunity for me, but I had to go back and repair all those relationships, put my life back in order.
That's I don't mean to chuckle, but I mean I'm just thinking it comes back to the two things: is communication and being present. And in terms of that work, that's a whole nother kind of work-life balance.
Right.
I the way I view that, it's non-existent in the form that most people try to make it happen. They try to do everything and be balanced, right? Equal here. But we're going to go through seasons of life, weeks, days, years, where you have to be 110% grind.
Okay.
But then you need to make room for the other over here. But if you don't communicate that and set that expectation, hey, I'm not going to be so present during this period because here's what we've got to do. And we're going to grind, but here's why. And now we free up. Is that a fair assessment of it's kind of a unbalanced balance, so to speak? But so many people get caught up trying to be balanced in everything at the same time, almost like multitasking, and nothing's productive.
It causes a little anxiety internally. Yeah.
If you focused, we completely agree, Chad. It's, and what we've noticed for ourselves too, it's easy for us to get into that mode, but we've discovered what helps us sort of center back, to become present. And for us, it's, whether it's we're traveling or we're just, doing our separate things. I love to play volleyball. So we have to create that of like, yes, we need to focus here. It's the doing, but then also balancing that sort of what we, talk about. It's like, there's different kinds of energy behind. You can keep doing. And if you're stuck in that, you're going to burn yourself out. Right. So that hustle mode is just, it's too much. Right. And then, so if you're not balancing it with your connection to yourself, right, intuitively listening to how you're moving through your day and how you're even speaking to others, right? If we're in this like pissed off mode because we're only focused on the grind, then what is it all worth?
Yeah.
So definitely balancing that piece of it is important.
Okay. And recognizing when you're getting to that point.
Exactly.
Yes.
And making the investment.
There's no straight line in nature. So when we think, and a rocket fails its way to the moon. So we're going, thrown off, but we got to get back on track. We're going, and we get back on. Like, there's always pivots. You're going to always pivot. There is no there, right? Like if you feel like you have like some there that you're getting to, there's no there. Like you're just in a constant state of pivoting. And when you get that to be one of your like core modes of operation, like you don't get stuck in the lows as long, right? And to Jordan's point, we've had a lot of things happen in our life that didn't feel good, where, relationships didn't go as we thought. So when we're talking about change and we're talking about conflict, those are really opportunities for us to grow and to learn, right? maybe it can be seen as a mistake, but ultimately what we have to understand is that if we didn't experience those things, we wouldn't be able to correct our behavior or correct the way that we're moving forward, right? So those things happened, and maybe they felt hard at the time, but if you wouldn't have gone through that, you would have been able to get to the next level, right? And so we, at our hardest times, even now, we know something good, equal and opposite is on the other side of it. So know that conflict is not necessarily a negative or a bad thing. It's really an opportunity for us to learn. It can be learning about our coworkers, learning about ourselves, learning about what area of us is still being triggered. Like, how do we communicate more effectively in the conflict, right? That's us. Like, that's our ability to grow in that.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
We could talk all day.
I know.
Probably could.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's feeding my soul too, just hearing this, and
Yeah.
It provides a certain energy, Yeah.
I like the drive in the conversation that's here. But if we were to wrap this up, I think that we'd learn that conflict resolution comes with communication, right?
It's growing in that.
I guess let's ask this real quick. How do we get better at communication?
I would say this is probably what a lot of people don't go to the root cause. And I would say develop your self-image, develop your self-awareness, and understand that it's not up to us to shift. If we can just grow in ourselves, that will be the ripple effect. Right. And so because you are putting out a different energy, you're going to be more effective. And so that you're going to get back more effective. Right. And so it's up to everybody individually to grow in their own self-awareness and become better communicators. But if you can start with you first, start there and developing who you are, so that no matter where you go, whether you're at work, you're at home, you're the same person. You're not super anxious at work and then just like numbing at home. Right. Because those are completely off. Right. We want, like Jitsi was saying, when you start to develop a balance of like not so up and downs, not the roller coaster of life, you can start becoming a more effective communicator.
And I was going to say, know thyself by Socrates. Know thyself. And, they say knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is power. Once you know yourself, then when you know better, you do better. Right. And so that's it. Like, that's the core of it. And then just surrounding yourself with people that are also going up. Right.
That's awesome. That's a great way to end. I appreciate you guys so much for jumping on with us today, and Jordan for getting this set up. I mean, this is tremendous value for everyone. If you find value in this segment, please share this with your friends. I know there's some good nuggets that Jitsi and Pia shared here that we can all utilize and use to get better with ourselves, with our team, and our life, kids, marriage, everything. So it's good. Where, if someone were looking for you guys, where would they find you on social or?
Yeah, we have our websites are Inspired Results Consulting, and LinkedIn we're Inspired Results Consulting, and then on social we went to our first names. So just Pia and Jitsi is our Instagram, and Pia and Jitsi on our Facebook business page. So that is, and our email is hello@Inspired Results Consulting if you have any questions. And
thank you so much. We're so grateful for you guys and just providing this opportunity to share value with, because yes, you're accounting, but we're also humans, right? They can come to you for the accounting, but you providing these nuggets of value can really help kind of do this symbiotic relationship where we know you're more than just a client, right? We want to give you value too, right? So grateful for you and providing this opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both so much.
Thank you very much. All right, this was the KB article. Our first guest ever here, Gia and Pitsy. I'm so sorry. Jitsi and Pia as our first guest here on the KB article. You guys have a great day now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.